Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about the vast majority of crypto and finance. And with that being said, I hope that you were all having a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are out there in the world. So, as we look at this space, not much has changed. In fact, we are in that point in time around this market that I love to call the calm before the storm. Now, that storm could be a good one. It could be a bad one. We don't know yet. And nobody does. We can make predictions all day long, but nobody knows for 100% certainty what's going to happen next. But we will address a few things. We will talk about it. But I always say the biggest shakeout method is not so much the price action. I feel as though so many people out there are always looking at, we need a major crash to shake people out. No. In fact, the biggest shakeout is time. Humans, by nature, are very, very impatient. Right now, as we look at the space, we have been ranging about 55 days. Bitcoin, 55 days since the last prior high. The total 3, Altcoin Market, 55 days. The total market, 55 days. We have been waiting for well over 50 days for a big move. We have been chopping essentially between $50,000 and $70,000 for that time frame, waiting for the next move to happen. Sentiment around X has been extremely rough. And I just recently mentioned this actually on X, but as we look at that, right, we're still at neutral fear and greed. We're still watching a few things. We're still waiting on a few things. But during this time, this is where most get shaken out. If you go back to the dot-com bubble, there's roughly 10 to 14 years after the major crash until we saw Amazon and Google and Apple and Microsoft all make new all-time highs. 10 to 15 years in between that time frame. Think about how crazy that was. Now, obviously, would it have taken 10 to 15 years if we didn't have like the '08 crash? Probably not. But that's what shook a lot of people out. Now, yes, did price action along the way also help? 100%. But time is the biggest shakeout method. It's not so much about price action. As we look at the space on the 24-hour span, there is some green across the board. On the 7-day span, again, there is still a lot of green across the board. But for the most part, we're not really seeing the major gains that we were expecting to see like we saw back in 2020 to 2021 or even 2017, 2018. Now, is diminished gains a big thing? 100%. But it doesn't have to look this way. Like, this is not typical alt season behavior. A lot of altcoins, a majority of them, like 80+%, are still 80 to like 90% away from their all-time highs. Some of them are a little bit, lower at like 50% or so. But regardless, there is still a lot of work to do for altcoins. Now, we're going to talk about that. We're going to address that and really kind of, talk about where I expect the market to go. But I also want to give a big shout to Credible Crypto because he has also been outlining this move. And we have side note, we go on reply mode right now because there is nothing to update. And yeah, just like my previous videos, guys, not much has changed in terms of price action. We have the same idea from below, 2 areas of interest where I'm looking to do business, the red zone for potential shorts, the green zone for potential longs. In between, we just chill. And this is what he's looking at. So anywhere between like 67 to almost like 71K, that's where he's looking to short. And then also for longs, we look at that, higher time frame swing low at about roughly like almost 50. It's like in between 58 to 59K. And then also we have a major bounce off of a possible higher level, which is like where we're at currently at about roughly almost $62,000. But he outlined this. This was on May 6th. Now, regardless of if you want to focus on TA or not, it's okay. You don't have to. This is what we are looking like today. We are in this first major demand zone at about roughly 60.8K to about roughly 62.5K. We slightly wicked into it for 2 daily candles. The current one is today. And as you guys do look at this chart, we are holding the 62.3K zone so far. Now, is that going to be a strong support zone? Probably not. But we have been fighting that 64K resistance for a very long time. I saw a lot of people getting a little bit excited on May 6th when we ran all the way up here to about roughly like almost 65.6K. And they were like, all right, that's it. How many people got shaken out? Now it's time to go to like 80K. But that's not the case. And I even said that on multiple occasions in this market and on this video, where we will pretty much do something like this. We're just going to range. And during that time, every single time that we spike to the upside, you're going to have a lot of people saying like, oh, this is it. We're going. But it's not going to be that easy. It's going to be a chop fest in between these levels until we break over 74K and claim a new high. But during this time, like I said, as we do continue to chop, a lot of people are going to get shaken out. Now, can we still retest some of these lower demand zones? 100%. But we still need to focus on the overall structure because we are not in a bullish structure until we break over a new higher high. 67K has always been my focus. I told you guys about this. That's why I personally love this structure that Credible Crypto is looking at, because that next area after 67K, we're not out of the woods yet. We still need to claim 74K, but 67,000 is going to be the hardest level for us to break on the upside before we get to that next level, which is up here at about roughly like 70.7K to almost like $73,000 or so. This whole area up here is going to be hard for us to break over, but this is the first major level that we are really watching for. And during that time, you're going to see a lot of people saying like, all right, that's it. You know, bull run is back on. Let's go. We're going to 100,000. We're going here. We're going there. But they're failing to realize that we still need to make a higher high on the entire chart going all the way back to March. But right now we're really kind of looking at the short term and we're trying to create a higher high structure just going off of the April 22nd high at about roughly like 67.5K. So we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to Bitcoin. But during this time, again, you will see a lot of people get shaken out, or they'll just continue to become extremely negative, because as we do continue to see Bitcoin chop to the sideways price action, while as we look at Bitcoin dominance, right? While Bitcoin dominance is trying to break over a new higher high, actually right now, I circled this level, right? We were looking at two scenarios where it was either we're going to pump up to this area, which it seems as though we are looking at that price movement, right? We're really kind of looking at Bitcoin dominance reclaiming 55.23% and continuing even higher. If this does happen while Bitcoin does chop, a lot of altcoins are going to continue to bleed out or just range sideways. Regardless of how you look at this, again, altcoins right now are not the key focus. It's actually Bitcoin. A lot of people have been looking at altcoins and saying like, all right, now is the time for altcoins to go crazy. It's going to take a little bit of time. We still need to have confirmation on this chart that alt season is officially beginning, and that will be us creating a new lower low on this chart, which is below roughly 54% almost. And on the weekly, I can kind of show you guys what that would look like. So going below this recent wick would be us back testing this lower trend line. We want to actually see a loss of that lower trend line before we get excited about altcoins, because again, during that time, we could still see a major bounce off of that bottom trend line and continue to range sideways against that upper trend line as well. But regardless, as Bitcoin dominance does start to gain momentum while Bitcoin just continues to chop, altcoins will bleed out even more. And as we look at the altcoin market, this is what that chart looks like. 55 days of just sideways momentum waiting for a big move on this chart. We have been riding the $644 billion level for a while. We are just waiting for something to happen here, because very similar to Bitcoin, right? And I can show you guys this. We have this high up here, which I'm going off of the candle bodies, right? I'm not going off of this high back here. But we have this high here, followed by a lower high, followed by another lower high, and then also followed by another lower high. We need to create a higher high on this chart as well, very similar to Bitcoin. And we need to maintain the pattern that we actually have on this chart currently in terms of those higher lows, which is this low here, followed by a higher low. And then up here, will essentially be our next higher low if we do get another back test of that bottom trend line, which I wouldn't be surprised if we do, but it would probably be somewhere around up here at around like $610 billion. And what that would essentially look like is with Bitcoin chopping, with Bitcoin doing what it wants to do, and if we do go significantly lower on Bitcoin, and when I say that, I mean, you know, what Credible Crypto is saying over here around like that 58 to 59K level, possibly even 60K. During that time, this chart will essentially lose this support zone here, kind of back test down here into this level, and then we would just kind of chop and then break to the upside. And that's what we would be looking for on the altcoin market while we look for a higher high, because on that move to the upside, we essentially want to actually clear this level here at about roughly $695 billion. We would be essentially flipping a support zone that we were holding back here as well, in terms of going up to that upper trend line and possibly having a major breakout above that. So during this time, what we would be looking at is something like this. And then we would have a break to the upside, possibly even a back test of this level down here, range, break to the upside, retest the trend line, because this is where essentially the trend line would be. We might back test the upper level here. This is that support zone, like I said, and then we would continue even higher, and then we would officially have our breakout, and that would essentially be alt season as well, officially beginning, because that's when we really look at Bitcoin dominance and really kind of confirm if that is going to happen or not. At that time, again, this chart is your friend when it comes to alt season and what your altcoins are going to do next. Now, beyond the total three, yes, as we look at the total, this is what the total crypto market cap looks like. Very similar to the total three. Just ranging sideways in a bearish structure currently, because we have this high back here, followed by another lower high. Again, slightly lower high. And then we also have this one down here, followed by the one that we are currently trading at. And the problem with this chart is actually we're making lower lows. We have this low here, followed by this lower low. And are we going to officially bottom down here at about roughly $2 trillion? It is going to be surprising on what happens next on this chart for a lot of people, because if that is the case, right, most of the market will be extremely fearful. They will be very bearish. And then what will essentially happen next is we really kind of just range, and then we get an official breakout above that upper trend line. This could take some time. I'm just going to say that now. If you're not patient and you're getting to that point where you're just frustrated, you're done waiting, you're tired of it, I just want you guys to understand that that's pretty much the sentiment of majority of the market right now. And you might be questioning, like, why is Bitcoin dropping? Why is most of the market a little bit bearish today? Well, it's because of the dollar gaining momentum. Just like I said, this thing is going to range sideways here. So we're going to see some moves to the downside, and then we're going to see retest of that upper trend line. The key thing to watch here is a break of this upper trend line and a back test of it, and holding that, because this would essentially be the dollar being bullish, which is bearish for risk on assets. We want to actually see this lose that bottom trend line. And again, until we do so, we're just going to range here. And we have been chopping for a little bit of time on the dollar. Now, outside of that, also 10-year bonds doing the same exact thing. We basically have our retest of that bottom trend line, and now we're bouncing a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing started to bounce to the upside, very similar to what I have here. We might range a little bit, and then we get that big move to the upside, almost like 4.7%. And then we finally back test that bottom trend line, range sideways, and then we finally lose that. And when this chart becomes weak, risk on assets like Bitcoin and crypto become very strong. That's what we're really kind of watching for. But this is essentially the calm before the storm. We are just ranging. It's very boring. That's where a lot of people get shaken out, because most of the market's not doing anything. My best advice to anyone out there that is getting bored or getting tired, walk away. Take some time away to go and focus on other things. Crypto will be here when you get back. In my opinion, probably even much higher than where we are at right now. We just have to be patient. I would say that the biggest time frame to really kind of watch for in terms of crypto is like July going into the fall time frame. That's when most of the market will heat up yet again, and that's when I assume altcoins will start to gain a lot of momentum versus Bitcoin. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys do, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.